Welcome to the beginning of a very, very long video today because I'm doing another Blu-ray collection video. Now, I did one of these about a bit over a year ago, and the collection has expanded quite a bit since then. So, let's not waste any time. I'm going to try and be even quicker on all the movies than I was last time, so let's get into it now. So I've got all these movies in alphabetical order except for one, which is Lost Highway by David Lynch, because it's the Criterion edition version of it. This is a really, really trippy and weird movie. I've yet to check out the specials, but there is a lot of shit on here. 10 Things I Hate About You. I shouldn't enjoy, but well, I should. This is a great movie. It's really funny. I think it's got really nice characters, really fun story, great soundtrack. I don't know. I fucking love it. 1408, one of my favourite Stephen King adaptations for sure. This one is wild and trippy and weird, and this is the director's cut actually, I believe. 2001: A Space Odyssey. What do I need to say about this one that hasn't been said at all, except for the fact that I think the disc has fallen out. Oh no, there's two discs. Didn't even realise there's two discs in here. Yeah, incredible. The Alfred Hitchcock collection, we got Rear Window, Vertigo, Psycho, and The Birds. Vertigo is my favourite. I just think that movie is just unbelievably incredible, but Psycho is a very close second, and I adore Rear Window. Birds is definitely my least favourite, but it's still a great exercise in suspense. Now we have Alien and Aliens. These are two amazing sci-fi films. Alien is a bit more of a horror film with a very kind of like a slasher structure, and Aliens is like a sci-fi action film by James Cameron. This one I prefer by quite a bit over Alien, but either way, they're both excellent films. American Psycho, one of the funniest and most just sick kind of movies. I feel like people may talk about it a little bit, like some people might get a little bit sick of hearing about it, but that's just because it's a great movie. That's why people talk about it so much. An American Werewolf in London. This is probably my favourite werewolf film because I haven't seen a lot, but this one is really, really fun. Annihilation. Disturbing, disgusting, and trippy. I love this one. It's very, very... It's so surreal. It's great. My favourite war film of all time, Apocalypse Now. This one is just so harrowing and dark and scary, and I've watched it so many times, it never fails to send chills up my spine. Apt Pupil. This is a pretty fun Stephen King movie. It's not great, but Ian McKellen makes it well worth watching. The Babadook, a really, really great Aussie film that, yeah, it's really good. It's kind of like It's a movie that's kind of been oversaturated and overdone with, like, you know, the whole grief is the real monster sort of thing, like, more recently, but this is one of the earlier examples of it being done in kind of like the 21st century, as far as I can remember, and it does it really well. Banshees of Inisherin, one of my favourite films from last year. I actually rewatched this one at home and liked it even more than I did at the theatre, and I gave it 5 stars when I first saw it in the theatre, and I liked it even more again. This one is so fucking funny. This is one of the great comedies. Already, one of the greats. Better Watch Out. Look, I understand why people hate this because the main character is such a little shit, but I find it to be a really fun, sick, twisted movie. I think it's very, very silly. I don't think it takes itself too seriously, and I do find the ending satisfying. Some people, that's what a lot of people's complaint is, doesn't end on a satisfying note. I think it ends satisfyingly. Beverly Hills Cop, classic Eddie Murphy comedy. Really like this one. Big Lebowski, I like this one alright. It's not great. I think John Goodman and Jeff Bridges and Steve Buscemi, they're all really funny. I just don't think there's a lot to any of the characters. I don't think the story is good at all, but I do think it's quite funny, and the ending scene on the rock is hilarious and very, very well done. The Black Phone, one of my favourites from last year. I've seen this multiple times and I like it more and more each time. It's very It's almost cliched in some parts, but like, it's so well done. It's such a good throwback feeling film, and I absolutely fucking adore it. Black Swan. This is probably my favourite Darren Aronofsky film. Yeah, this one is just surreal and entrancing, and yeah, it's great. Now we have Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. I prefer the original Blade Runner. I love this movie. I love them almost equally. They're both borderline perfect for me, but this one, I just felt there was a lot more emotion in this. I just felt a lot more connected to the characters, and Rutger Hauer's monologue is one of the most just entrancing things I've ever seen. And that's what this one was missing. It was just missing that kind of connection with the characters, but both are just so good. Boogie Nights, one of my all-time favourite films. It's just, I think it's perfect. The Breakfast Club, I picked this one up because it was a classic, and I watched it and I thought it was pretty dreadful, actually. I'm not the kind of person that complains about things being dated or anything ever, but some of these character arcs just, like, make no sense. Like, you got Bender and Molly Ringwald's character, and he's sticking his face in between her legs the whole movie and basically doing shit to her. And at the end, they kiss and make up as though nothing ever happened. It's just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Yeah, not a fan. Candyman, one of the best horror films of the 90s. This one, Blu-ray from Cinema Cult. If you ever see Cinema Cult, don't get it. They're shit quality, but it's a great movie. Cape Fear, one of Martin Scorsese's best films. I would actually say that this is easily top 3 of his for me, because, I don't know, I'm really drawn to this one. I think it's very, very entertaining and very well done. Got the original Carrie from 1976, like a top 5 movie of all time for me. I absolutely love it. And I've got the remake from 2013. I think this one gets a bit of a bad rap. I don't think it's a necessary remake, but I do think it is quite well done. Another great Scorsese film, we have Casino. This one is not quite as good as Goodfellas, but it's got a lot of the same kind of charms as Goodfellas. You know, you got the pretty grumpy Robert De Niro, and you got a really angry Joe Pesci, and, you know, just a big, epic, grand story. I really like Casino. Cat's Eye is one of my favourite just movies. I think this is just one of the most fun horror anthologies that's ever been made. I just absolutely adore this. Cell is a steaming pile of shit, but it is fun to watch. I don't know, I really like this one. It's awful, but it's one of those ones, I think it's gone under the radar. I think more people need to check this out for it's so bad it's good watch. We have here Child's Play, Child's Play 2, and Cult of Chucky. I love the Chucky franchise. I'm not going to talk about any of these any more than I already have, and I will be talking about the rest of them. It's just that since the strike's gone on, the TV show has gone on hiatus for a bit, so that's why I've been having a break from those reviews. Chinatown, one of the most classic, like, 70s noir films that really shows the disgusting, dirty undersides of LA. I think it's LA. Yeah, it is. Jesus Christ, I don't know my America, but this is a great movie. Children of Men, very, very good. I don't like it as much as a lot of other people do. I don't know why, but I think it's an extremely good film. I don't think it's one of the best of the 21st century. Chopper, classic Aussie film. Christine, my favourite John Carpenter movie. Although pretty much all of his movies are great, so yeah. A Clockwork Orange, one of Stanley Kubrick's best films by far. Cloverfield, this is probably my favourite found footage film, actually. I just think that the lore and everything behind it is super interesting, and for like a post 9/11 allegory kind of thing, I think it's really, really scary. Clueless. You're gonna see a couple of chick flicks in this video, but this is one of my favorites, even though she's stepbrothers with Paul Rudd. It's kind of, I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Collateral. This is probably my favorite Tom Cruise performance. This movie is absolutely amazing, and honest to God, I would almost consider it one of my favorite films. It's just so good. Con Air. Con Air. Ah, shit. Jesus fucking Christ. Sake. Okay, so here we have The Conjuring 1, 2, and The Devil Made Me Do It. Look, I'm not as high on these films as I was when I first watched them, but I still think they're very, very well directed, if familiar kind of movies. 2 is definitely my favourite. 1 I really like as well. And 3, I think, again, like Carrie 2013, gets a bad rap. I think it's got a lot more to offer than people give it credit for. Creepshow is a really, really great little Stephen King adaptation. George A. Romero directing it, and Stephen King actually starring in one of them. I really like this movie. It's a lot of fun. Cujo, I really enjoyed this movie. It's definitely silly and it's a bit dated, but I think it's a lot of fun. Oh god, Days of Thunder. Look, this movie's not very good, but I'll be lying if I said it wasn't a lot of fun. The Dead Zone. I think this is probably my favourite David Cronenberg film. And yes, I know, he did The Flying Videodrome, but this one I really, really love. Desperado. This is a pretty fun, just action, thriller kind of movie. It's nothing spectacular, but Antonio Banderas is a lot of fun. Die Hard. Great movie to put on around Christmas. It's so stupid, so silly, but it's all the more charming for it. Django Unchained. One of Tarantino's best. Is it a little long? Maybe, but honest to God, I couldn't care less. Dr. Sleep, the director's cut. I much prefer the director's cut over the theatrical cut. This is actually just one of the greatest movies of the 21st century. I fucking love Dr. Sleep. Donnie Darko. Great movie, great soundtrack. You've got so many good songs here. I couldn't even get to name them all. But yeah, very thought-provoking and very well done. Easily one of my favorites. Don't Breathe. I picked this one up. I don't know why I picked this up, actually. It's a good movie, but I don't know why I bought it. Like, it's, yeah. I do know why I bought this one, Bram Stoker's Dracula, because this is one of the greatest romance stories ever put on the big screen, and I fucking love it. Dr. Strangelove, very funny Stanley Kubrick film. Peter Sellers does a great job as 3 different characters. Event Horizon. I mean, like, can we please just live in an alternate universe where the director's cut of this actually exists? Because holy shit, this movie is so cool. It is so cool, and I just wish we got a bit more of it, because it just feels a little bit underwhelming. It's building up to this huge reveal, and then you see just flashes of it, and then it's like, I want more. Just, I reckon this movie should get a remake, but Sam Neill, Lawrence Fishburne, especially Sam Neill, he is so creepy in this movie. I fucking love Event Horizon. Oh, Jesus. Here we got The Evil Dead and The Evil Dead 2. Unlike most people, I prefer Evil Dead 1 over the second one. I just feel like this one's a little bit more gritty and disgusting feeling, and I like the humor that's brought into Evil Dead 2, but I don't know, I'm just more drawn to the first one. The Evil Dead remake, which is a fucking badass movie. This one is just sick and disgusting, and yeah, I love this one. Evil Dead Rise, yeah, I love this. I saw it in theaters earlier this year, and I recently rewatched it when I got the Blu-ray, and it still rips. I fucking love this one. Here we have The Exorcist and The Exorcist 3. This one, I've seen The Exorcist multiple times, I've always loved it. I recently rewatched the director's cut of it, and it jumped up into my list of favourites. This is one of the most amazing films of all time. That being said, do not discredit this movie, because this movie is terrifying as well. A different kind of terrifying, but they're both... I would consider both of them to be in some of the scariest movies of all time, because they're great. Both great movies. And here we have Face Off. I have to own Face Off. It's a given. How can I not own Face Off? Also, because I'm just using my phone for my camera, and I always have, I've got a piece of shit iPhone 7. So what it needs to happen is, every once in a while I need to stop the video, put it all onto my computer, so I can free up all the storage, because there's only 32 gigs. So if the camera moves every once in a while just slightly, that's why. It's because I keep having to take the phone off and plug it in and then put it back. So whatever, let's get on with it. Falling Down. This movie is great. I really love it. I love that it's not condoning his actions at all, and I think there are a lot of softcocks out there that just want to just ban this movie entirely, but I think it's providing an interesting insight into just kind of like the what if you got so fed up with everyone being so stupid around you that you went out and became worse than them. Just really intriguing concept. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Classic movie. Nothing else needs to be said about it. It's brilliant. Fight Club. It's Fight Club. What more do I need to say? It's so well done. It's so good. It's so funny. The Final Destination 5 film collection. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in here. Final Destination 5 is easily my favourite, but I enjoy 1 and 2, don't really like 3, and I fucking despise 4, but it was like super cheap to get, so I decided to grab them because they're easy watches. The Fog. Great Carpenter flick. Again, just John Carpenter just has no bad movies, I don't think, as far as I've seen. They're all so good. Ford vs Ferrari. I really love this movie. This is a really, really good biopic drama with great performances from everyone and some pretty exhilarating sequences too. Frailty. Now this is what I'm fucking talking about. Go out and watch this movie, wherever you can find it. Go and watch it, because holy shit. It is wild, and it is so good. The Friday the 13th remake. This is my second favourite in the franchise, just behind Jason Lives, but I actually think that this is a great slasher. It's kind of just like a best of collection of all of the franchise's high and low points. I will say that it does have its low points, but makes it all the more charming. I really, really love this film. The original classic Fright Night and the Fright Night remake. I prefer the remake. I'm sorry, I think aside from the one character, it's Dave Franco's character, he doesn't get a satisfying arc in the end for me. Aside from that, I can pick out no flaws with this movie. I think it is just so fun and so brilliant. And so is this one, don't get me wrong. But I don't know, I fucking love this remake. From Dusk Till Dawn, one of my favourite just zany B-movies. It's so much fun. I love it. Get Out. Really, really good directorial debut from Jordan Peele. I don't think it's quite as good as Nope or even as good as Us. I'd say this movie and Us are on the same level, but either way, it's a really great opening debut film. Now we've got this steaming pile of shit. Ghost Ship. The tagline is "See Evil." Yeah, this is bad, but I really, really like it. And it's also funny because the opening scene is so masterfully directed, and then the rest of the film is just a shit show. It's like, what the hell happened? Did they get, like... They changed directors after the first 5 minutes of this film? Because god damn, it goes downhill fast. God, is it entertaining, though. Glass. I haven't seen this film in ages. I got it because I wanted to rewatch it because I was super unsatisfied with the way it concluded, but I haven't rewatched it yet, and I got this movie ages ago. So that kind of explains or gives you an idea on how interested I am in rewatching it. Here we go. The Godfather 1, 2, and 3. I will say 1 and 2 are a perfect open and close story. But if it was to keep going, I don't think they could have done a better job than Godfather 3, other than just a few of the casting choices. Or one of the casting choices, basically. Sofia Coppola, great director, shit actor. I apologise. But no, I really love these two films. I enjoy this film enough, but if I'm ever in the mood to watch the Godfather films, I'll most likely just chuck these two on. Goodfellas, I don't think it's a debate to say that this is probably his best. This or Taxi Driver. Yeah, I got to see it in theaters last year, and it's just a brilliant film. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. This movie is excellent. This is so good. It's long, but it's so engrossing, and I really love this one. This is probably, not that I've seen a hell of a lot of westerns, but this is, well, definitely my favourite western. The Grand Budapest Hotel. Wes Anderson rarely ever misses, and this is probably his best. The Green Mile. This is a movie that's over 3 hours long, but I think it's involving enough. It's got enough great characters, and it's got a really, really nice story that's very, very moving to watch. I think that this is an amazing movie. I really, really love The Green Mile. John Carpenter's original Halloween, absolute classic. And then the David Gordon Green remake, which not remake, it's a requel? Whatever the fuck this is. I called it a remake because it's the exact same title. They're both called Halloween. But, I liked it the first couple of times I watched this, and I rewatched it last year for Halloween. I was like, woof, this is bad. And then, nothing compared to Halloween Ends. I'll just say that. Although I will say that Halloween Kills is actually my favourite of the David Gordon Green trilogy. David Gordon Green trilogy, Jesus. I'm slurring my words here. The Hateful Eight, this is one of Tarantino's best... I can't even say that. Why? Every single time I've gone through Tarantino, I've gone, yeah, this is one of his best, but I'd say this is probably middle of the road for Tarantino, aka just like, you know, an 8 or 9 out of 10. That's how good of a career he's had. This movie's great. Oh, for fuck's sake. The Happening. Yeah. Look, I love this movie. I love M. Night Shyamalan. This movie is absolutely horrendous. It is one of the most just gut-bustingly hilarious movies you'll ever see. Oh yeah! Hellraiser. This is exciting actually. And well, it's not really. I just wanted to say I watched Hellraiser 2 the other night and really liked it as well. Not nearly as good as this movie, but I'm definitely going to pick it up on Blu-ray because this movie is one of my favorites. I fucking love this original movie, and the remake was pretty good too. Hereditary. Really, really good directorial debut. It's a shame that Ari Aster has basically gone into jacking himself off for a living instead of, you know, making nice, tight, and contained movies like this one. But yeah, still have this movie. Oh, where that talent went to giant dick monsters. What the fuck was that? Monty Python and the Holy Grail, probably my favourite comedy. It's definitely, well, this and The Life of Brian are the two best Monty Python things that they've ever done, I think. This is so funny. I don't have Life of Brian on Blu-ray yet, actually, which is really sad, but I do have this one. House of Wax. I'm going to say that this movie is, like, legitimately great. It is legitimately scary. The villains are not very good, but I think that this is such an atmospheric and creepy movie, and just the concept being poured in hot molten wax and just being immobilized, and in some of it they're just still sitting there alive, and they peel like some of the wax and their whole face comes off as they're alive. It's like, this shit is scary, and I fucking love it. This is underappreciated. The Howling is a film that I got. I just got it because, Dee Wallace, pretty classic werewolf movie. I thought that this was really, really dull. Actually, really dull and uninteresting. There's like the good transformation sequence, and then the very final scene is actually really, really crazy and awesome too. But just overall, this is just so underwhelming and uninteresting. The Hunt for Red October. This is a really good thriller. Love Sean Connery in it, and Sam Neill, Tim Curry, Alec Baldwin. It's great. In Bruges. This one I probably prefer to Banshees of Inisherin. I haven't seen Three Billboards or Seven Psychopaths, but this movie is just so good, so wild, it's so funny. Love it. Love it! Now, this might perplex some people, but the only Indiana Jones movie that I have on Blu-ray is The Last Crusade, and that's because it's my favourite. I will eventually get Temple of Doom and Raiders, but the store, JB Hi-Fi, that I get my Blu-rays from, or most of my Blu-rays from, only had Raiders on Blu-ray and Last Crusade, and the only way I could get Temple was if I bought a 4-pack with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I'm not getting that movie on Blu-ray, so that's why I only have this one at the moment. Inglourious Bastards. This is probably my favourite Quentin Tarantino film, as much as I've said this video that, oh yeah, this is one of his best, this is one of his best. This one is his best, I think. Insidious! The greatest thing James Wan has ever done. I fucking love this movie, and I really enjoyed pretty much all the sequels as well. So yeah, I'd like to pick all of them up, actually, because they're a lot of fun and very, very spooky, especially this one. In the Mouth of Madness. Not my favourite John Carpenter film, but probably my second favourite to Christine. This movie is just bonkers and so underappreciated, so creepy. This movie. The Invisible Man. Yeah, I don't know. It's alright. It and It Chapter 2. I'm probably going to be the only person that's ever said this before, but I prefer It Chapter 2. I think that the characters, the adult characters, are so good, and all their conclusions and their arcs and the cast, they just have so much chemistry. And although the scares are pretty repetitive in their kind of nature, and the CGI looks like dog shit half the time, I just think that this movie is great, and I think the ending is brilliant as well. I don't care what anyone thinks, this is so much better than having a giant space turtle. God knows, whatever happens in that. Yeah. Great movie, and this movie's great too. Jackie Brown, my second favourite Tarantino film. I've watched this one many, many times, and I think it's a really, really restrained film for him, and I think this is just him at his absolute peak, when he's just... It's a long film, but the story is just tight and compact, and love it. Jaws. Look, I can understand that 1975, this would have been absolutely revolutionary, but this introduced so many cliches that I've seen in so many movies since then that I watch this and think of it as being cliched, even though it kind of, invented the cliches. The point is I don't really enjoy it, and it's unfair that I don't enjoy it for that reason, but it's just the truth. Jeepers Creepers 1 and Jeepers Creepers 2. I really like these movies, especially the first. The first is really good, I think. The second one's fun as well. But yeah, I like the movies. Okay, the movies, I'm judging the movies based on what they are. Nothing else. I'm not talking about anyone that was involved with it. Okay? Just separate the art from the artist, please, because I like these movies. They're fun. Just let me like them. JFK. This is like a 3.5-hour movie, I think, and it's very good. It's very well done. It's very interesting, but it's one of those ones that you kind of watch once and you don't really watch again because it's so long. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. Volume 1 is vastly superior. 2 I found to be extremely slow and dull. But it's a pretty fun story. That's probably one of the only times both those films I would not say is one of Tarantino's best. Oh god, knowing. Look. I really enjoyed this movie for all of the right reasons, because it is Nicolas Cage absolutely drunk off his tits for the whole movie, screaming about numbers, googling 9/11, and the places that this movie goes are absolutely hideous, and I love it. I love it. And I actually do think that there are some sequences in this movie that are really well directed, but it's mostly a train wreck, quite literally, and it's really, really fun. Labyrinth. David Bowie. David Bowie. LA Confidential. This is a really great... It's kind of another Chinatown-like one, where it's just, you know, the dark underworld of LA. And this is, I will say, one of the best crime thrillers ever. This movie is brilliant. So good. La Haine. Yeah, I like... it's one of those ones where I find it hard to pick flaws in it, because it is really, really well done. It just didn't really stick with me. I don't know, like, it's very, very good. It just... yeah. La La Land. This movie, I shouldn't enjoy it, but I do. That's the truth. I fucking love this movie. The Lost Boys, probably my favourite vampire movie. Well, almost definitely. This and Bram Stoker's Dracula. This movie is just an absolute riot from start to finish, and I love it. Oh boy, Malignant. What a crazy ass fucking movie this is. Jesus Christ. This thing is wild. I love it. I really, really like it. Mandy. This is a really, really stylish and atmospheric and gritty Nick Cage movie. Yeah, it's basically just like a zonky action horror kind of thing, where he just goes and just slaughters this group up after they kill his wife, and he's got this man-made axe. I can't remember what he calls the axe. But yeah, no, it's so cool. Look, I might have needed to be around in 1999 to fully appreciate this, but I bought this because it's a classic. I watched it and... woof. Not good. At least I didn't think so. Mean Girls. You know what I said about fucking chick flicks? I love this one. This is really, really good. I'd say I probably prefer Clueless and 10 Things I Hate About You just slightly more, but yeah, this one's fucking great. Megan. This is the unrated edition, which changes probably about 2 seconds of the film, but I will say they're welcome additions. I rewatched this one at home, and unfortunately it didn't hit quite as hard as it did in a theater. I only just realized, like, watching it, how little kind of kills there are. Like, it's very not very much carnage in this movie, but it is perfectly good for what it is. It's a lot of fun still. It's just watching it in a theater was just an experience that I loved. S&M 2, a Metallica concert film, actually. I can't really remember. I haven't seen it in forever, whether it's actually like a concert film or if it's just kind of like a recording of the show. But yeah, it's a really good concert. Really good. Love with the orchestra. It's so cool. Midsummer, it's a film that I've, kind of gone off over time. It's just a bit too long and a bit boring and annoying, but it has some cool and gnarly parts. Minority Report, definitely one of Steven Spielberg's best films, I think, because I'm not a huge fan of his, but I do think that this kind of zany, silly action really works, and I had a lot of fun, and Colin Farrell's great, as always. Misery, one of the greatest films ever made, one of the greatest horror films, one of the greatest thriller films, with two amazing lead performances. I cannot get enough of this movie. Mother! Yeah. I can totally understand why some people will watch this and think it's just an indulgent, artsy piece of shit. But I think it's entertaining, and I do think it's unique, and Aronofsky once again stamps himself as just like an auteur, dare I use that word. Mulholland Drive, another CDLA movie that I just adore. I've talked about this film a lot and I love it, and yeah, it's so good. No Country for Old Men, pretty solid thriller. I think where it falls is in the last 30 minutes or so. It just kind of gets a little stupid, but yeah, overall it's a really, really intense, straightforward thriller, and I really enjoy it. Nope, I love this movie now. I really didn't like it when I first watched it, but yeah, I've really come around to it, and it's ambitious, and it's wild, and it's just a spectacle, and it's really great. The Northman. This is a really fun movie from last year, actually. Pretty long, definitely a bit too long, but, you know, it's just Vikings going around stabbing people, rah, guts going everywhere. I had a lot of fun with it, and yeah, that's why I bought it, because it's good fun. Old Boy. Oh, fuck yes. This movie, so good. So good. Definitely my favourite foreign film. Just gnarly and disgusting and just, ugh, but very thought-provoking, just paced like a bullet. This movie is just flawless. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, another one, kind of like Kill Bill. It's definitely down the list of Tarantino films, but I still really enjoy it for what it is. Once Upon a Time in the West, it's very good. It's very well done. Not really for me. Just a little bit, yeah, I don't know. This didn't really invest me that much. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Jack Nicholson gives an amazing performance, as he always does. This is one of the greatest movies of all time, and yeah, it's brilliant. Now we have Orphan and Orphan First Kill. I never thought that this movie, a prequel to one of my favourite movies of all time, could ever be so good, but these movies are both excellent. This one's definitely better, but this one is a lot of fun as well. The Others, one of the greatest haunted house movies of all time. Yeah, wow, this just blew me away. Parasite, an extremely good film. I really disliked it the first time I watched it. I think I was just in a really bad mood for some reason, but I rewatched this and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? This movie's awesome. Pearl, my favourite film from last year. It is brutal, and it is so good, and it's just, Mia Goth is a force of nature, and I can't wait to see more from her. The original Pet Sematary and the remake, I guess you could call it, or new adaptation, whatever. Who cares? I definitely prefer this one, even though it's definitely quirky and it's got its problems. I do think this one's a little more effective. This one's more polished and probably a better film overall, but I really enjoy both these movies for what they are, and yeah. Ooh, Point Break. What a fun movie. Actually, funny story about this one. They travel to my hometown in this movie, and they go to a beach about 5 minutes from my house. And they just show footage from Waimea Bay in Hawaii. I was like, no way you're doing this. But aside from that, this is such a fun movie. And The Pope's Exorcist. I got this because I do think it is unique enough and a funny spin. I think I'd almost call this one a comedy. I think it's hilarious. It goes, you know, full Exorcist 3, bonkers, ridiculous, batshit at the end. And I really, really like this one, and Russell Crowe is so good in this movie. Pulp Fiction is a movie that I don't need to say anything about because, well, it's Pulp Fiction, one of the most influential movies of all time, but I will anyway because this movie is seriously perfect. The Prestige, I would... between this and Oppenheimer for Christopher Nolan's best, but yeah, no, it's brilliant. It's so good. Nothing like it, and it's more restrained than a lot of his other stuff, but it's just handled so perfectly. A Quiet Place 1 and 2, these movies are okay. They're kind of just more exercises in suspense rather than actual, you know, compelling storylines or anything, but they're alright. Ready or Not, I really enjoyed this one actually. It's not like anything groundbreaking, but you know, you got Samara Weaving here playing a pretty fun character in a pretty fun movie. It's pretty bloody, it's pretty gross. There's one scene with a nail in the hand that lives in my mind rent-free, but yeah, no, this is a fun little movie. Red Eye, hell yeah, love Red Eye. Definitely one of Cillian Murphy's more different performances. He's really, really... You meet him at the start of the film, and then there's that one line that he says, something like, do what I tell you if you want your father to live. And it's just like, woo, shit, this boy pissed. But yeah, really good movie. Definitely, probably not one of Wes Craven's best, but it's definitely better than a lot of his other stuff. Renfield, look, this movie is not great, but when you've got Nicolas Cage playing Dracula, when you've got this much blood, and when you've got Nicholas Hoult playing Renfield, I can't not love it. And I was very harsh on it, and Awkwafina is still fucking horrible in it. But the good definitely outweighs the bad, so that's why I decided to get it, because seriously, there is so much fun to be had here. The Ring. I still cannot decide whether I like this or the Japanese Ringu more, but they are both excellent movies. This one's definitely a lot slower than the original Ring movie, but Naomi Watts just gives a fucking powerhouse performance here, and it is an excellently creepy film with a great Hans Zimmer soundtrack. Rocky Horror Picture Show. You can't not love it. It is great. It is so colourful and vibrant and weird and just fucking out there, and the music slaps, so yeah. The Running Man, not one of Arnie's best efforts, but it is still a fun, cheesy B movie that is completely different to the book, but you know what, it's fun enough. Salem's Lot is a great mini-series movie, actually, that was aired in 2 parts in the 70s, but it's been put together as just one big 3-hour film. I think it holds up really well. It's definitely dated in some parts. Can we please get some updates on the new movie? I mean, I know Stephen King has seen the new movie, which is good to know, but I just want a release date. I just want to know that we're eventually going to see it. Ah, please. Please! Seven. Some people really don't like it when you call it Seven for some reason, but Seven, that's what it's called. Yeah, David Fincher's best. Absolutely David Fincher's best movie, and he's made a lot of good movies. This one's his best. Secret Window. I find this to be a really, really fun, campy, and also kind of creepy movie in some parts. I think that if I had have watched it before reading the book, I mean, obviously because I read the book, I already knew what was going to happen, basically, except it does kind of take a big swing at the end. Like, the very end is completely different to the book, but the overall twist, I can understand why watching it there are a few too many red herrings and stuff like that that just make you go, oh, okay, I think I know what's going on. But aside from that, I think this is a really fun movie, and Johnny Depp is so good in it. He can really act. Yeah, really good movie. Shawshank Redemption, I've seen it so many times, and every time it just hits the same. It's brilliant. It is so good. Shitter Island. I kind of liked it when I first watched it, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, That is so fucking stupid. Like, this is a really stupid movie, and I feel like that's kind of the point in some of it, because it is well done and well made, but, like, god damn, that twist is bad. Like, really. Fuck me. Signs. One of M. Night Shyamalan's best. I don't agree. I mean, this is the thing. I just talked about how bad the twist is in Shutter Island. I think the twist in Signs is great. Well, it's not really a twist. It's kind of just like a revelation. I think it all makes complete sense. Yeah. Don't judge my taste for saying Shutter Island has a bad twist and Signs has a good ending. Just... or do. That's alright if you do. The Silence of the Lambs. What can I say about this? This is another one. I've seen most of these movies in this pile. I've just seen so many times and I love them all to death. Yeah, Anthony Hopkins is great. Jodie Foster is not great. Ted Levine is great. This movie just has some of the most perfect directing I've ever seen in my life. Silver Bullet. This movie's fucking awesome. The werewolf looks absolutely hideous, but it is still really fun. I love Gary Busey, I love Corey Haim, and yeah, I enjoy chucking this one on every once in a while. I almost forgot about this one because it was up on my top of my shelf because I like to keep it there because it is my favourite movie of all time and that will never change. The Shining. Perfect. The Sixth Sense. This is definitely one of his best movies, Shyamalan's best movies. I still think Unbreakable's a little bit better and we'll get to that later, but this one is absolutely amazing. Smile. One of the more surprising movies from last year because I do think that there are some serious problems with it and it is seriously derivative, but it is scary and that's the point of it. It's not trying to be an original movie and it's scary and I think I'm going to enjoy watching this one a fair bit over the years. Society. I absolutely adore it, but Splice. If you haven't seen Splice, just go do it right now. Please. Please, I beg you. Oh my god, the amount of fun that I had the first time I watched this. This just sent me off my chops. I could not believe where this went. Absolutely love it. Okay, on to the last shelf. And we're starting it with Split. A really good, I wouldn't say return to form because The Visit from the previous year I thought was quite good, but this is definitely one of his better movies, again, Shyamalan. The Stand. I really like The Stand. It's really, really good. It's certainly dated in some parts. Not all of the acting is great and some of the CGI is bad, but most of the cast do a great job. And it really captures the kind of scope of the book, which I really appreciate. Stand By Me, one of the greatest coming-of-age dramas ever made. It's so good. And I think it's Stephen King's favourite adaptation of any of his books, so that says something. Suspiria and the Suspiria remake. I go back and forth on which one of these two I like more, but they are both 10 out of 10 movies in my opinion. I probably like this one just slightly more, just for what it does. Especially after seeing the original and then watching this, you're like, oh my god, that is big. Like, no one would see it coming. I think it's really crazy and inventive. Taxi Driver put Robert De Niro in the spotlight as one of the just greats of all time, and his performance is still studied because it is so good. I think that this might be his most biggest achievement of a movie. I think it's just so perfect. The Terminator and the Terminator 2. I only just watched these for the very first time the other day, actually, which is pretty sad considering how much of a movie buff I am at the moment. But well, not at the moment that I am and always will be. But this movie's great. This is just absolutely excellent. This one is perfect. I've said that word a lot this video, and I've probably been overusing it. But this movie, if I had to define this movie in one word, it is perfect. It is perfect. Good God, I was blown away. Terrifier 2, one of the most fun movies that came out last year. It's definitely mean in some parts, but that kind of just makes it all the more entertaining that Art the Clown just does not give a fuck. It's definitely a long movie, but I think there's enough gore and disgusting shit going on that it doesn't bother me too much. Tremors, look, it's not great, but it's fun. It's fun enough. The monsters are actually awesome, but I don't know, it's a very redneck Yankee kind of movie. It's funny though. They Live, not one of my favourite John Carpenter movies. It has one of the great quotes of all time about coming here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. Yeah, no, it's great. It's pretty great for what it is, but I don't think that I don't think it quite matches up with his very best. The Thing, another great Carpenter flick. Again, not one of my favourites, never has been, but I think it's pretty good. It's just the characters let me down. I just find them so boring and annoying. But it's a pretty good paranoia flick, and the practical effects are as good as they've ever been. Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick, you go from a really cheesy but really enjoyable and well done 80s action movie to one of the best action movies ever. I'm getting dust on my nose from all these Blu-rays. Ugh. But yeah, this is really one of the most monumental movies of the 21st century. It really feels like we were just going back in time, even though I wasn't alive back then, but it really doesn't feel like any other action movie that's come out in a long time. Trainspotting, one of my favourite comedy films, if you can call it, well, I would call it a comedy, absolutely, actually. It's very dark and very disgusting and gross, but it is so fast-paced and so crazy and just almost absurdly funny in some parts. It's just like, yeah, I love it. I think it's really good, and it has some really scary parts in it as well. Trick or Treat, a really good horror anthology. This is one that's kind of weird. It's almost better to think about than to actually watch, because it's just not really a hell of a lot happens, but it's just the atmosphere and the music. It's just like, you know, it's a fun little Halloween snack. Unbreakable. This is the best M. Night Shyamalan film. I cannot pick any flaws with it. Whiplash. It's one that I didn't really like at all for a while, but I rewatched it again. It must have just been like Parasite. I was in a shit mood or something like that, but I watched it again and really, really liked it. I don't think it's this perfect movie that it's kind of being regarded as, but I do think it is an amazing film. Okay, so we got The Wicker Man. One of the greatest British horror films of all time. Like, this movie, Don't Look Now, I think Don't Look Now was British. I can't remember, but I just wanted to mention Don't Look Now for some reason. But anyway, this movie is great. This movie is not, but I love both of them for different reasons. This one for being an absolute stupid piece of shit, and this one for being a really, really chilling and spooky and thought-provoking movie. Ugh, Willy's Wonderland. I don't know why I bought this one. It's just, yeah. I was kind of convinced myself that I liked it. I'm like, oh my god, it's Nick Cage, Five Nights at Freddy's crossover. But really, you watch it and all the animatronics just look like people in suits. It's all talk and no walk, basically. The Witch, this one is really, really scary. Really dark, thought-provoking, almost blackly comic in some parts with some of the forms that evil comes in, but it is so creepy at the same time. It's very different. I didn't love it when I first watched it, but I do think it is better than I gave it credit for, because this is really an atmospheric banger. That is it. That's all of my Blu-rays. That was a long video, but thank you for sticking around and watching it, if you've made it to the end. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all later. Bye.